like to invite Steve to come and kick off.
Morning. So this is a tribute that the family and Lynn have put together. We're here today to remember and celebrate the life of Dean Vincent Worrell. And in thinking about Dean, we think of a life lived with a great sense of humour, a life of adventure, and a mischievous spark that never ever left him. He was a storyteller, and now here is his story. Dean was born on the 17th of February 1966 at Chase Farm Hospital in Enfield, to the delight of his parents, Peter and Brenda. Sometime later, Dean was pleased to welcome the arrival of younger brother Jason and subsequently his sister Joanne. Now, it's fair to say that school wasn't exactly Dean's favourite place. He and his mate Steve were known to bunk off on a regular basis, though he was never in what you'd call serious trouble. His mum tells a wonderful story of going to the school one day with Dean's nan, searching for any kind of tribute or reward with his name on it. After a long search, they finally found one thing: a lion in needlework. We suspect that this was Dean's first and quite possibly his only piece of needlework. He attended Kingsmead Secondary School, where he quickly made his presence known. A neighbour who had one of the few telephones on the street would make a regular trip to Dean's mum on many Fridays. The message was always the same: the head teacher, Mr. Ustov, has been on the phone again. Dean has given him another headache. And you need to come in on Monday morning. Brenda, his mum, remembers the day Dean arrived home with a terrible rash all over him. She thought he must be seriously ill. And it turns out he had just taken a shortcut, jumping over the back fence to go down to the railway line, and had landed in a huge patch of nettles. He was a popular and funny lad. He joined the Boy Scouts in his early teens. But by his mid-teenage years, he was eager to get on with life. The family eventually managed to persuade the head teacher to release him, and Dean started a painter's apprenticeship, which he took to and did well with. He later worked for an electrician, and it was here he provided one of his most legendary moments. Stuck in a terrible traffic jam, Dean simply had enough. He decided to abandon the van which he was driving, and abandon his rather surprised passenger workmate right there in the middle of the jam, and proceed home on foot. That was Dean. He did things his way. He passed his driving test with a broken foot. One of the family reckons he passed his driving test because of his broken foot. He loved fishing with his mate Bernie, and he was good at it, receiving several awards. His cousin John, who is here today, remembers regular trips with Dean, climbing down into the brick quarry to explore the Victorian dump, where they found all sorts of great artefacts. And when his car was stolen, he was of course very upset, but he was far more agitated by the fact that he had just filled it up with petrol. In the mid-1990s, he met Mandy in a pub, and a new central chapter of his life began. They had 3 daughters: Selena, born in 1998, Stacey in 2000, and Sean in 2003. Life, of course, brings its challenges, and Dean's journey was no different. He struggled with addiction, and his relationship with Mandy ended. With courage, Dean faced up to his addiction, and he spent time in several rehab centres, which the family recall were a great help to him. It was during this period he began attending a church in Uckfield, fine finding a new path. That path led him here to Mayfield around 2012, and he started attending this church in 2013. And it was here soon after that he met Lynn. Lynn recalls that the first time she visited Dean, she brought him some groceries and then spent the morning rearranging his furniture. In Lynn's words, from that day on, she kept him on the straight and narrow. Her friends became Dean's friends, and his social life bloomed. Though they had lived in separate homes, Lynn and Dean shared so much. They tackled household jobs, decorating and gardening together. They became regulars at boot sales and antique shops and loved visiting National Trust properties. They also shared a great love for animals, especially birds and cats. Dean was a member of the RSPB. They were partners in everything from supporting each other at hospital appointments to the very early wrapping of Christmas presents. A year after they met, their bond was tested when Lynn was struck down with sepsis and meningitis. It was Dean who called the ambulance. Lynn spent many weeks in the hospital, and Dean was at her side almost every single day. When she was finally released, he put his own life on hold to support her and nurse her back on the road to recovery. It was a true testament to his love and devotion. One of the great highlights of their time together was their many holidays, both devout sunbathers. Many photos out there to prove it. Dean told a brilliant story about one of those trips. He and Lynn hired a pedalo boat that had a slide on it. Dean, of course, had to try it. He went down the slide, splash, but then for the life of him could not climb back onto the boat. And he was flailing around. Lynn was terrified he was going to drown, and somehow they just managed to get back to shore. It is the kind of thing only Dean could laugh about so hard. This was the Dean we all knew and loved. Adventurous, funny, impatient, and absolutely one of a kind. A storyteller, a father, a loving partner, a son, a cousin, a mate, and a man who lived a life full of stories. We are all so much richer for having had his life cross over